Okay, everyone can hear me? Good. I hope it's going to be worth the wait. Okay, cool. So my name is Owusu. I'm a senior product manager at Coinbase. I'm really excited to talk to you about a topic which is more from a PM perspective. So there's a lot more, what I would say, focus on the users here. So a little bit about myself. So I studied in London and did what many people in London do, which is go into investment banking after university. And so I started off my career within TradFi, focused primarily on building out ETF pricing, as well as index arbitrage trading as well as a developer. Over time, after several years... All right, I think we're giving up on a hands-free approach. Over several years in TradFi, I finally saw the light and joined Coinbase in 2021. And between 2021 and 2023, I spent time involved in either leading or contributing to every major staking network launch at Coinbase. And that's across both our Coinbase retail as well as Coinbase institutional product lines. We also, over the last year or so, have spent time now leading our non-custodial staking solutions. So this means that I've been responsible for our staking API, which Lewis potentially touched on earlier, as well as just in general working with partners outside of Coinbase to bring Coinbase staking to their platforms. So my talk is really inspired by these types of, I guess, experiences, especially working very closely with protocol teams. And a quick refresh on Coinbase. So yes, we are a crypto trading platform, but a lot of folks don't realize just how much we do in the staking space as well. So we're one of the largest staking operators. We have over $20 billion worth of assets currently across 18 different protocols. And we have 3 different major product areas within Coinbase that still leverage this staking infrastructure as well. We have the retail side, which offers around 9 assets. We have institutional, which offers around 20 assets, and Coinbase Developer Platform, which many folks are probably unaware of, which is our newest area, which focuses on, again, externalizing our staking infrastructure for asset aggregators to integrate to and offer customers Coinbase staking from whatever chosen platform they desire. So with that now out of the way, I'm going to do a bit of an audience poll. So I want everyone to, just put your hand up if you've staked before. Really easy. Put your hand up if you've staked before. Great. Surprisingly, not every hand up, but that's still a good start. Now, I want you to keep your hand up if you stake to, let's say, 3 protocols. More than 5? Wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. So now I want you to keep your hand up if you can stake or have staked to more than 5 protocols, but also you could explain that to a partner or even your parent and they would understand it. Okay, I'm actually very impressed. I'm very impressed. I think there are a few liars, but I'm very impressed. Okay, so we started off around kind of like 90%. We're down to around 20%, but I'm still very impressed. I think ultimately, though, that isn't good enough, and I think this kind of relates to what my focus is going to be on today, which is staking is very complicated. We listened to a presentation earlier, which spoke about education, and the reality is that this is still a big gap that we haven't solved. Every new network that we launch, again, comes with a new stake and reward rate. It comes with reward frequencies and bonding times. It comes with these terms which are very specific to staking. And unfortunately, this just doesn't make much sense to many folks who are outside of this room who aren't involved in a know and a day-to-day. And so a lot of this causes, I guess, cognitive overhead on users. This is very taxing for them, and it's very hard for them to commit to long-term support of a network unless they fully understand and are bought in to the new technology that is being pushed on them. We focus, and this is just based on my discussions with some of the protocol teams, is we focus a lot more on innovation, which is great, and we need it, but we don't focus so much on staking participation. And I think this is a space, a gap, a challenge that we need to solve. So don't just take my word for it. What I've got on the board at the moment is a list of quotes. So at Coinbase, we interview thousands of different users every single year. These are quotes that we hear directly from our users. This quote here in the top right is something I heard last week. And what I find interesting about this isn't necessarily the content itself, but specifically who I heard it from. So this is from the COO of a very major crypto media company. And for him, he was even confused exactly how much he was earning in rewards. He couldn't work it out himself, and this is someone who for all intents and purposes, is someone who is considered crypto native, is someone who is very, in the know, is part of the community. And for him, he struggled with just answering bare basics about the performance of his staking rewards. And for me, I mean, this just doesn't, bode well for the rest of our industry. If someone who is very, very well versed in crypto is struggling, then what does this mean for everyday users as well? So in the next half of this presentation, I'm going to cover a few of the themes that we're seeing when it comes to challenges and propose some of the tactics that we're looking at as well. And in general, I think we as an industry should be looking at. So the first insight, or the first challenge, is that users are feeling more clueless than ever. So there are over 100 staking protocols. At Coinbase alone, we launched support for 8 protocols over the last 12 months. And what we find is users lack understanding of just even the bare basics when it comes to the most popular networks. They don't understand how rewards are generated. They don't understand how they're distributed. They don't even understand exactly what slashing is or how it works. And a lot of this doesn't just impact, obviously, their ability to earn rewards, but it really impacts their long-term belief in networks and their ability to be able to commit long-term as well. And it's not just new networks as well. It is also to do with upgrades. So, there's hard forks that go on all the time. It's not uncommon for us to have customers who are very hesitant around upgrades, sometimes even requesting potentially unstaking assets at the time of an upgrade. And purely all this comes down to is just a lack of understanding, a lack of kind of belief in exactly how the upgrade is going. So again, an educational challenge. The next one is that users, meanwhile, they do trust staking, but they simply do not trust the additional technology which is added around it. And the additional technology can come in different ways, right? It can be smart contract layers which are added, LRTs, LSDs. It could be the individual kind of staking providers and their technology, their custody technology, etc. But essentially, users do not trust the tech. They are happy with the APIs that they see, but the APIs ultimately mean nothing if they cannot trust the tech. And we see this play out quite a bit today. We see a lot of custodian diversification. We see a lot of diversification when it comes to staking operators as well. And all of this, I believe, is in part to mitigate the risk of the technology, which is added on top of staking as well. And that is a good segue into my next point, because there is an additional challenge that comes with this. So performance monitoring is no longer optional. This is the final challenge that I want to speak through. We speak to a lot of asset aggregators. And again, when I say asset aggregators here, I'm talking about platforms that hold tokens or assets on behalf of a user, like a custodian, for example. But a lot of them will rank performance monitoring as something which is maybe a second or even third ranked priority. For them, reporting is about the most that they will focus on, but there is nothing that goes beyond that. And so people often think that staking is some sort of fire and forget kind of transaction, but what we're finding is that customers do want to understand their performance all throughout the duration of their stake. They don't just want to understand their APY at the point they go to stake, they want to understand it throughout as well. Again, with the tax regulations evolving, the diversification of staking providers, etc., this is just becoming a harder challenge to solve. So really quick, what kind of solutions are we looking at then? So the first one is education as a product. We need to invest in better learning experiences for users. We need to speak in ways in which users understand, using analogies that are helpful and not misleading. Comparing staking rewards to a fixed income product can be helpful in some cases. In other cases, it can lead to a misunderstanding of expectations as folks then experience, staking reward rate variance as well as commission fee changes, etc. I feel like a lot of content these days as well is unfortunately going stale. There's so much innovation in the space where we aren't refreshing content fast enough. And so we're in positions where we're also misleading users purely because we haven't refreshed our content catalogs. I've also included an anecdote here. I don't think we have enough time to go through it, but I will say that education also comes in the form of reaching out to users directly. We had an incident a couple of weeks ago around the skip rate on one of our Solana validators, and the team reached out and spoke to the community directly to actually reassure them about that, but also to give information on how we operate our validators. And this is a different type of education, but also equally just as important. Next one is getting closer to protocols. I mentioned they don't trust your tech, right? And I think a lot of us look at LSTs and LRTs, and I think they are brilliant, they're innovative, but they aren't for everybody. And there are still going to be segments of customers who prefer having more of a native staking experience. And we need to make sure that we prioritize these accordingly as well. We see this with our staking API as well, where we're investing in more of those native experiences and also some of those lower level functionalities, again, so other providers can create, I guess, again, purer, rawer experiences for their own users. And next one is performance tooling. I think this is an interesting area because a lot of people would say that there are a lot of performance tools out there. There are a lot of ways in which folks can weigh up, again, the kind of rewards that they're getting. But again, this is a space that is getting more and more complicated. Things like restaking, for example, take this to another level. And I believe at the moment, we need to drive users towards the right option and not the default option, which is probably the case for a lot of UX that we see at the moment. And to be clear, again, I'm just saying that we just need to make sure we have the right KPIs that we're optimizing for here. Not just trying to encourage folks to stake, but again, for them to stake in a way that makes sense for them. And a lot of this can be done through what you'd expect, so reward calculators, the transparency around past performance, but even competitive benchmarking as well. So I'm going to wrap up here. What I will say and what I will end with is a bit of an anecdote. So when I first joined crypto, I was told that you're either a beginner or you're a power user. And several years later, that hasn't exactly changed. And what I find is that we either have too much complexity or we don't have enough education. The reality is that we have to choose one or the other, or maybe even both, and solve for both. But essentially, what I'm proposing is that we focus more on education, we make staking a lot less complex to understand, and we bring users along with us on that journey of innovation so we can widen that participation. And I believe we're now at time. So thanks for listening, appreciate it. And that has been When Will Staking Make Sense?
Thank you, Aaron.